Hi, my name is George Robinson. I'm continuing this particular discussion on the settings section of the application. And to access that, we just click settings over here. And you can see we're presented with some options for managing the tool. I want to start with each one of these categories. I want to go through each category. I want to start with the user agent. This simply represents the browser that the application is looking to impersonate. You can change this. You could even have it use the same user agent that your existing browser uses. This screen debugger is quite important, and you'll see this as you run the software if you choose to leave this enabled. But what this does is it actually presents a window of the browser, the social media platform, as it's running in real time, so that you can actually see what the software is doing with your social media account. You'll be able to see what it's clicking on. You'll be able to see the text that the software is attempting to use. Probably most importantly though, you'll be able to see how the software is acting upon your account and give you some idea of how it imitates a human being. And that's quite important with this software. It's really designed to replicate people, in the sense that a lot of the activities that we perform day in and day out, whenever it is we're trying to grow our social media account or engage with prospects, those tasks are often repeated, and they're the same kinds of tasks that we might be performing each day. The software has to imitate that, because human beings don't repeat things the same way. And so the screen debugger will allow you to witness firsthand in real time what it's doing. The updates are essential really, because all of these platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, they change regularly. The functionality can change without any warning, and our software is obviously aligned with those platforms. So if those platforms change, then our software needs to know about it, because it won't be able to find those buttons that get moved, or those text boxes that might disappear. And so whenever one of our developers or someone on our team recognizes a change with one of these platforms, our team of developers will make an update which gets uploaded to our central server, which all of our platforms are checking. All of our users' platforms are going to be checking for updates, and if it does find anything that's new, as long as this is checked, it will automatically pull down the latest version, install it automatically, and it will restart the app, which means you don't have to worry too much. As long as you've got this checked, you'll always be running the latest version. If you don't want to do that, you can uncheck it. You can force an update manually if you want to. The cleanup, all of the major social media accounts have a concept of a pending invitation list. They might use different terminology, but if I just focus on LinkedIn, for example, you can go to your pending invitation page, and if you start to have an inordinate amount of pending invitations, that can often trigger an algorithm that will start to limit the amount of profiles that you can engage with in the future, that you can try to connect with in the future. And we don't want that to happen to our users. We want our users to be able to go through lots of fresh and useful prospects. And for those prospects that never that didn't want to connect with us, we need to do something about that. And so this particular setting will kick in, and in this case it will kick in if it sees that we've got more than 200 pending invitations, and it will keep the newest invitations. You can actually do this manually as well in the tool, so you can leave this off if you want. It will also do this every day at 5 o'clock. You might think that's too frequent, and you might not want to use this, but it's genuinely a good idea to keep an eye on your ratios when it comes to making invitations, just so that we can continue to keep the software running. This determines the startup section. As long as this is enabled, it will mean that the the tool will open. It will start itself when your desktop is switched on. A lot of our users have reported to us that they've forgotten to turn the software on, and maybe even for days. And obviously the software needs to be running for it to do what it needs to do against those social media accounts. The activities really is a protection, safeguard for your social media accounts. We've learned over the years that each platform has its own algorithm profile, and sometimes if a platform sees that too many pages are being requested in a given day, in a given time period, it causes problems. And sometimes you've seen that too. You know, if you've done too many searches on LinkedIn within the month, you could even be a week into the new month, and you start getting a message saying that you've used your quota of searches, and for the next 3 weeks before it gets reset, you've got no way of running new searches because they're usually grayed out. You've probably seen that before. So more importantly though, if you're even manually, this has happened to people, especially recruitment companies, if you're doing a lot of profile searches and you're opening a lot of pages, sometimes LinkedIn will start to send messages and can even block accounts if it thinks that there's too many requests being made in a given time period. Now, software is no different. We have to be sensible about how many pages we open in your social media accounts, and these are the defaults that we found to be safe. But because they change all the time, sometimes they get increased or decreased. This just gives us the flexibility to play around with that algorithm without having to worry about the software making too many page requests that it shouldn't make. Now this branding is only really relevant if you're a marketing company and you're on selling this as a service, as a managed service. The software is able to send reports, daily reports or weekly reports to yourself or to other end users. But if you're a marketing company, you can actually brand those reports. Really, it just means that the user sees a continuation of what you're doing for them as a service provider. And really, the allowed threads is really quite important if you have a lot of accounts in this tool. At the moment, you can see we've only got one, but if you had more than one, if you had say 10, and that could be, some of them could be LinkedIn, some of them could be Facebook, some of them could be Twitter. What you don't want to have happen is have the software do one at a time, because it just means that it can take quite a long time to get through all 10 accounts. If you've got a faster computer and you can determine what's available by your resources here, if you've got a faster computer, you can increase these allowed threads so that, you know, these 10 accounts can be split to run concurrently. So if you put it up to 10 threads, you could have all 10 accounts run at the same time in parallel, which means that obviously the software gets done with all this activity in considerably less time. And this last section, email scanning, is only relevant if you plan to integrate your email account with the software, and a lot of people do that for lots of reasons, but we obviously want to control how often we poll that email account, and at the moment the current default is 90 seconds. So every 90 seconds it's going to check your inbox for information that would be relevant to how this software processes other activities. So that's the application settings. These might be changed over time. We might add additional settings depending on the needs of our users and the needs of the software, and we might even remove some of them if we think they're confusing. But currently, this is the current configuration for managing the application, and we found it to be all that's needed at the moment. Look forward to speaking to you on our next video.